welcome. I think first-time listeners to Burbs Bros.
Yes, guys, if you are listening to this podcast for the first time, we welcome you with open arms. You are listening to the Burbs Bros podcast. You can check us out at Instagram. It's at Burbs Bros on Instagram. Email us, burbsbros@gmail.com. Also, check out our Patreon if you dig the episodes. We have a bunch of great ones coming up. Patreon.com/Burbs Bros. We're here.
For instance, this week's episode. We're going to end with who we're interviewing, but for this week's Patreon, this week's episode is an interview. So all the topics, paranormal topics of the week, we're covering on Patreon. Just me and Sean. It's much more of like a comedy roundtable, old school, politically incorrect before he went insane sort of feel. You
think Bill Maher went insane?
I don't know. Him maybe recreating the story of Faust in front of all of us, but we're not here for politics, Sean. We're here for UAP, which indirectly includes politics. But just to let you know, Sean got into this topic in about 2017. He was into this topic beforehand. I was not into it I was into it, but not nearly as much as Sean. The thing that really turned me on was the Jake Barber News Nation interview where he's talking about the UFO crash retrieval. I'm like, this guy's not lying. Yeah. And if he is, I'm going to have to do a podcast about knitting in the future. But I don't think he's lying.
I did. What turned me on was divorce.
I had an easier go of it, guys.
It did. What turned me on was because people, I didn't realize it was the case, but it was almost like UFOs saved me. Because right before I got into it, it was some comic came up to me because after you get divorced or whatever, some traumatic thing happened. Yeah. I thought I was fine, and I was walking around, and this really happened. I was like, I'm fine. It's good. It's what should have happened. I'm fine. And then one day I saw a comic friend of ours. I think it might have been Mike Cannon or somebody, and he goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I go, "I'm fine." And he goes, "Really?" Because I saw so and so, and they said Donnelly's walking around all depressed. And then a week later, I was like, "Ooh, this New York Times article
just making so much worse."
Oh, UFOs come for me.
All right, well, Sean's dancing around what really happened in the divorce. He wanted his ex-wife to wear a third tit, like the alien in Total Recall. He wanted to motorboat 3 tits at the same time.
Hey, I'm not going to apologize for my kinks.
No, it's true. Yeah. We're very kink. We don't kink shame on this podcast. But I got really into that. I think for me it was something dramatic. I did go through a job firing, and I've gotten more into it since then. But one thing that has been dawning on me since I've been getting into this topic in 2025 is that because a lot of this is just reading John Mack's book on abductions and seeing what these people went through these experiences, and I'm like, oh, I want to be abducted. But then I realize I'm a recovering alcoholic. I could have been getting abducted from the years 2002 to 2010, and I have no fucking idea. I could have been getting probed that entire time, and I just wake up with some Mardi Gras beads in my ass and a probe.
A destroyed apartment. It was the aliens. You're like, what happened last night? That's what Molly and Miller
like. Oh God, I think I was abducted. No, Dan, you shit in a urinal. No, I'm pretty sure it was abduction.
They come through your colon. What do you think is going to happen?
The aliens only visit you after Jägermeister and Taco Bell. That's the only time.
That's your dog whistle, Jägermeister. Because now Ross Coulthard told us on our episode that Jake Barber has a dog whistle. It's a mechanical device that summons the psionic experience, summons these things, but mechanically. Yours was a night of Jägermeister and Taco.
Yeah, that was it. Now I actually have a dog whistle, but it collects sad UFOlogists. So all of us meet in a field together, and we all give each other sad hand jobs. But I've been, all jokes aside, this has been a life-changing topic for me, and for sure, I mean, Sean jokes about the religion thing, but I definitely think I'm more into this because. Sean jokes about the divorce thing. I definitely think I'm more into this because of the death of my mom and because I got fired. I do think that's kind of what propelled me here. It's like, oh, maybe there's something else than these earthly machinations of love and job.
I'm the same way. I think it reshapes your idea of reality, and it makes it way more exciting, the idea of what happens next. And then, but it's in a way that we can understand, because I think we think of ourselves as guys who grew up Catholic but are a little bit lapsed. Yeah. But it doesn't mean we're not complete staunch scientists. Yeah. But when we have that,
we're not smart enough.
No, we're not smart
enough. Another way our podcast may be different from the other UFO podcast is I got a D+ in astronomy in college. I barely made it out of fucking astronomy. You didn't even fucking finish college.
I was not. Wow.
You this fucking idiot.
Wow, Dan. Thanks for outing me, you fucking dick. In high school, I was in non-Regents chemistry in high school. There was 6 people in the class. Oh, thank you so much. There was 6
What
people.
is non-Regents chemistry?
It means that
It's like,
you
okay,
don't-
hot water, don't touch. Cold water, you can touch, but not too cold.
It's just a life lessons class.
Don't push the pull door.
When the halfway house, the autistic kids, they learn how to live. They're like, we'll call it non-Regents chemistry, but today we're going to the post
It was
office.
actually Sean and Greta Thunberg, which is kind of crazy.
No, non-Regents, if you're from New York, you take Regents tests for classes. At the end of...
Do they have Regents still, Pat? Oh.
Yes, they do. So I guess I just found that out. But so if you're in a non-Regents class, you'd pass the class, but you wouldn't be counted. It wouldn't be a Regents class. You wouldn't get that credit or whatever it is. So that's what it was. And literally, it was just me. The teacher was the man. The guy was awesome. This guy, Mr. Donovan, he was awesome. We would just fuck around. He didn't give a shit. We talked to other people who had him.
He's like, today, the difference between camels and camelites.
You talk to other people who have him, and they'd be like, "He's kind of tough." I'm like, "Not for us." I'd be like, maybe he's just like, these kids are doomed.
Dude, that makes sense because I was in special gym. I told you that.
Were you?
I was in special gym in grammar school with this kid named Lee Flowers, whose brother killed himself by creating his own laughing gas machine and overdosing. But we were...
Shut the fuck up.
I swear to God, all that's true.
Do not bury the lead on that one. Wait, what happened? You have to explain
First
this.
off, Lee was the nicest kid in the world, but apparently his brother had built a laughing gas machine. Like, he was a genius and then got high. That's the problem with these geniuses. Some of them get high.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's like the it's like the suburban version of the guy who built the car that runs on water.
Yes.
But he's like, I'm just trying to get high from this laughing gas machine. And then the machine killed him.
Yeah. That
How
was
old
the
was he?
story. I think it was probably early 20s, something like that.
Oh my God!
Like, he's a smart guy. I mean, he
But
kept
you-
fucking building
so you were in a class
I was
with his
friends
brother.
Brother. He was a really smart kid, but neither of us could throw a football.
Absolutely.
And the gym coach, because we couldn't throw, he thought that we had Down syndrome.
Damn,
and he would call us Superman. He would throw the ball and say, "Go get it, Superman."
when the
Yeah, me and Shaq.
when the coach would tell Dan to throw the football, he'd go, "What's my motivation?" I'm sorry, sir, but you're going to have to set the scene.
What's my subtext as a point guard?
Is it the Super Bowl? Are we at the Super Bowl, sir?
Oh, but what we're trying to say is we're completely unqualified for this. No, we love this topic, but we are amateurs in the scientific field. So to ameliorate that, Sean, to try to balance it out a little, we have gotten some of the smartest fucking people and most interesting people in the world to audition about UAPs and paranormal and the supernatural and maybe true crime in the future, but particularly today, the supernatural.
And really quickly, I want to say, like, we were talking about our origins with this stuff. I do, even though it's literally been almost 9 years of me being into this thing. Jesus Christ. Or I guess 7.5. But here's the thing. I always go from this place of like, I look at motive. I look at people who seem the most believable. And the people that we've had on, I'm like, these are people that I'm like, I can get behind what they're selling. Like, that's what you're going to get from the podcast as well if you're a first timer. If you've been listening, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you're part of the Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. But one of the things you're going to get from the podcast is, hey, we should be able to call bullshit when it's bullshit, but we're going to treat everything with respect. But also, we think we have, I think, even not to be dramatic, but I think comedy kind of lets you sniff out bullshit a little bit. You spend enough time dealing with the human condition and people and tens of people.
For sure, yeah, I think so.
Yes,
I mean, I'm routinely fooled quite a bit, so I can't say that I'm wiser for the wear.
I'm just saying, if you listen to the show, know that like we're not just blindly believing everything. We think we have a good grasp on what's going on here, and you're going to have a blast listening. So thanks so much for tuning in.
We know we don't have a good grasp on what's going on, but we think these guys have a great grasp.
Yes, exactly.
On what's going on. Yeah, we're not going to have David Icke on. That's what we're trying to say.
Exactly.
We're going to have people that are in this field who are professionals, and if they're not, they're a comedian. They're trying to be funny.
And just to back up what we're saying, it's like, talk about today's episode, like talk about a freaking banger and one of the goats and the absolute scene.
It's incredible. I mean, we've been fortunate enough, Sean and I, we've had Ross Coulthard on 2 weeks ago. We had Dr. Michael Masters on last week, who did a great job. But this guy, I mean, I said this for Ross, but it really is true for this guy. This guy is the Walter Cronkite of UAPs.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has been he has been behind the story in the early 90s before everybody else was.
Yep.
He was the one that was on the Bob Lazar train before anybody else
He
was.
broke it.
He drove the train.
Yeah, he drove the train.
He Bob Lazar conductor trains. I don't know what the fuck. But my point is that like this guy is he's legit. He's very knowledgeable on the subject, and he has the most beautiful sonorous voice I've ever heard.
He's like a white Barry White.
He is. He has a mic. He's the Michael McDonald of UFOologists.
He's awesome. A friend of the show. You guys are going to love this. Guys, enjoy our interview with George Knapp. We cannot thank you enough for doing this. I know you're a busy man, so we really do appreciate it. This is my my podcast partner, Dan, and one of my best friends, Dan St. Germain.
So nice to meet you, George. I've been buried in your work for the last couple months, and Sean's got me into it. And years ago, I read your Skinwalker Ranch book, which was awesome. So I'm excited to jump into this, dude.
I just try to get away with whatever I can, you know.
How's life? How's everybody doing?
Hectic.
Hectic.
You know, it's been hectic.
Well, ever
Jeremy
since
and I have been banging away at a lot of different stories. A lot of information comes our way. It takes a lot of time to sift through it all.
To vet the whole thing, right?
I still work at Channel 8 at KLES. I have the radio show, that podcast, working on book projects. So
yeah.
I tried to retire a couple of years ago. It just didn't work out. It lasted about 2 months.
You have too many
My wife
files.
wanted to kill me.
You're doing a terrible job retiring. But might I say, even before we start with the UAP stuff, how do you do vocal exercises to get your voice to sound that damn good? It sounds like fine mahogany. It sounds. I was standing here. I sound like I'm screaming from a Bible at a DMV, but you sound like amazing, dude.
Gargling alcohol, I guess. I don't want to drink it, but it's part of the job.
You have to do it. You're very disciplined.
Well, once again, we are thrilled that you're here, and I wanted to ask you because I just listened to the newest Weaponized episode with when you had the witness to the videos that you and Jeremy. So for our listeners, can you just give everybody a rundown of what you guys just released? You guys released a series of videos, a couple different videos, and what the latest Weaponized is about. This is George Knapp. You and Jeremy Corbell, who I'm also pals with. You run a podcast called Weaponized. You've been in this world for over 40 years. You're responsible for Bob Lazar getting a voice in this world. So, but the latest is these newest videos. So, can you give people a rundown on the videos, and also what's been the reaction since it's all come out?
Well, let's do context first of all. So 2004, the most consequential, maybe the most famous UFO case of all time, the Tic Tac case, where the U.S. Navy had seen these weird things pop in and out of radar screens and sensor systems for a couple of weeks. They sent Black Ace pilot Dave Fravor to go check it out, and he sees this really weird object. And then Chad Underwood in the second plane records thermal images, grainy images, as the people like to complain, of this thing that takes off, does amazing performances in the waters of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California. And that area has been the scene of a lot of really weird activity for a very long time, but this was a big case. As you may know, Jeremy and I covered it before that video went public, before the New York Times story came out. And the investigation, the first investigation of the Tic Tac case, happened here in Las Vegas. It was the first case investigated by a then secret program, the largest acknowledged government-funded UFO investigation in history, something called OSAP.
Right.
The DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, launched this program with help from my friend Senator Harry Reid. Robert Bigelow, a subsidiary, got the contract, and they launched this amazingly ambitious project that created the world's largest UFO database, that investigated all kinds of hundreds of different cases, sent people all over the place. Tic Tac literally walked in the door in one of the first people they hired for that program. So they started an investigation. Wow. The guy who conducted it for them was Jay Stratton, who had been sort of one of the co-founders of the OSAP program, later went on to head the UAP task force. So, Tic Tac, we're always interested in it. So when we hear that sailors in that same general area are seeing more Tic Tacs, it, of course, got our attention.
Sure.
We had heard it from Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who appeared at that last congressional hearing.
Yeah.
Because of his appearance, sailors and other military people started coming forward and sharing information. And one of the stories was about something seen by the crew members of the USS Jackson in February of 2023. And a video was recorded inside the Combat Information Center of the ship. It was recorded off of a thermal sensor. It's late at night, again, in those same general waters off Southern California. And they're recording this object. One of the crew members had gone up on the bridge to look outside to see what it is he's seeing on these sensors. And he saw this. Oh, excuse me a second. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, no worries.
What he saw was an illuminated object, tic-tac shape, come out of the water, come out of the ocean.
Wow.
What the hell is that? He'd never seen anything like it before. He goes running back to the Combat Information Center to see what shows up on the screen. And there he sees not just one of these tic-tac things, two of them are recorded, but eventually four of them. And they flew away in a formation as one, as if they were linked up and zipped away at a fairly good speed. It was astonishing. Now, he or someone in the crew recorded images off the screen, sent them to Admiral Gallaudet. Jeremy had caught wind of Gallaudet talking about it and asked him if we could share that information. We got the video. We took our time in trying to figure it out if it could be legitimately confirmed. And then we were put into contact. We had somebody reach out to us, one of the crew members. Now, there are several voices you can hear on that recording. Several guys on that ship had seen it. I don't know how many of them recorded images off that thermal screen, but what they were seeing was real. We got the information. We called on several people who are really experts at the technology and the sensor systems to help us confirm it. And sure enough, it stands the test. We had Marek von Rennenkamp as the guy who went public in trying to figure out, are there planes? Could there be helicopters or something that would explain it? And there are none. This was a genuine unknown. So we did a podcast episode where we shared some statements from the witness, but didn't reveal who he was, and then released the video. Got a pretty big response. And then the following week, just a couple of days ago, we had the witness step forward, which was very tricky, Sean. It was very tricky to decide if we wanted to encourage him to take that step or not. He's still active duty. He's been in the Navy 23 years.
Right.
We know the kind of stigma attached to this topic. And we know, even though the Navy has led the way in calling for transparency and encouraging sailors and aviators to report, you're still putting your career at risk if you step forward with that. So far, all good for that guy. We stay in touch with him almost every day. No recriminations, no higher ups telling him to keep his mouth shut. The Navy even issued a statement that basically says he's free to talk about it so long as he doesn't pretend he is speaking on behalf of the Navy, and this witness was very careful not to do that.
Yeah, he mentions multiple times in the episode that he's speaking for himself and not the Navy. I guess that's the best way to do that. And I'm glad that there's no repercussions for him because it's an amazing case. But the thing I wanted to ask you is because I mentioned it to you before we started when I was at my house. You've seen the evolution that you've seen as far as this topic goes. I've heard you talk about this before. Are you just amazed at the point that we're at with this? Like from your first interview with Bob Lazar to now, are you just amazed the amount of information that is public and that you had such a hand in it? And can you believe how transparent things have become?
No, it's like a dream. I mean, since 2017, that New York Times story came out, and it changed everything. You know, I had the information to do that story myself. I was aware of the OSAP program that later sort of transformed into ATIP. When I heard that the Times was going to do the story, I wanted to go ahead and do it. Hey, I've been sitting on this for 10 years. I want to do it. And very gently, I was told by multiple people involved, including Robert Bigelow and Senator Reid, you know, I'm not the New York Times. If I were to do the story, it's just the crazy UFO reporter out in Las Vegas. It's true. I mean, you know, I had to acknowledge. And I always figured, no matter what they report, I'm going to have more information to follow it up on. They did the report, and it changed the world because within a matter of weeks, other major media are taking it seriously. Members of Congress are asking questions. There are closed-door briefings that happen. It changed everything. And I never thought I would see this kind of an era happen as what's still unfolding now as a result of that story. There are pluses and minuses. Now, we've had multiple hearings. for 50 years, Congress didn't touch it. There's too much stigma involved. It does nobody's reelection chances any good to talk about UFOs. And yet they've dived in. And a couple of those members who are deeply interested in this, I applaud them for it, for their courage. And it's amazing that it is on both sides of the spectrum. You know, that one hearing that I was sitting at, there's Jamie Raskin and AOC on one side, Tim Gallaudet, Tim Burchett, and Luna and Matt Gaetz on the other. They're all asking tough questions. They are unified on perhaps the only issue on which they agree. So,
that's the only bipartisan thing there is.
It is an amazing transformation. And to have Congress even propose legislation that would give permission and protection to other whistleblowers to try to force aerospace companies, the keepers of the secrets, to cough this stuff up is astonishing. I mean, you have testimony in front of Congress under oath on the record about crash retrievals and reverse engineering. Oh my gosh, never thought I'd see it, because when I started, that was my entry point for this. And although a lot of people have their doubts about Bob Lazar, and I understand it, damned if he didn't turn out to be right. I mean, whether he was guessing or making it up, the fact is we have recovered crash saucers. The Russians have, the Chinese have. We are reverse engineering them. Whether we've made progress or not is debatable, but that stuff that he said back then turns out to be true. And now there's an active effort to get to the bottom of it. I have my doubts about where that will go, and we can talk about that if you want. But yeah, it's like living the dream. I never thought I would see this era arrive.
Well, George, is this the video that Jeremy and you released last week? Is it, including the thermal signatures, is this the most hard evidence we've had for a UAP sighting, you think, so far?
Well, it's pretty good. I mean, you know, the similarities to the original Tic Tac, that it's in the same general area, the same general shape. I'm glad that the aliens or whoever's flying these things didn't add tail fins or try to change the design.
Sure.
They stuck to the original and the classic.
Yeah, you guys got to copyright some Tic Tac figurines or something.
The fact is that it happens in the same general area. It's the same kind of shape, the same performance characteristics. It suggests someone really is flying these things around out there, and it's not us. And as usual, people have attempted to debunk it just by saying, oh, it's an airplane or it's a helicopter or something. Look, these sensors are the best in the world. They are created to look for possible threats. Whatever that object was, it has no known propulsion system that we know of, because there's no exhaust, there's no wings, there's no tail rotor, all that stuff. It's not a balloon. They moved in unison away at a high speed. What is it? Why is it out there? Why do we keep seeing these things? You know, I worked on this Netflix project, a 6-part series that came out last November. We sent a team in a boat out to that same general area, and they saw multiple illuminated objects. They all go to bed and leave the cameras rolling, these GoPro cameras. And at night, while the crew is sleeping, this object comes out of the sky, slowly from way up top. I don't know how high it was. It hovers in front of the camera, almost like putting on a show.
Yeah.
Then it goes right down to the edge of the water and then into the water, and you can see it moving under the water. Not a flare. There's no smoke. There's no parachute. The crew didn't even know they had that video until 2 weeks later, when an editor is going through it, the raw tapes, and goes, holy crap.
Wow. Jeez Louise. I full on wanted to ask you, you might have already answered it, and I mentioned this as well before, but what in your experience, smoking gun wise, do you think, because I actually think that, because like you said before, with these sensors are the best in the world. They're there to defend the country, and on top of that, another thing that gets to me that people never mention whenever people try to debunk these things is the audio that accompanies these videos. Like, so you have that guy Mick West, who's very, very big on Twitter or X, whatever, for trying to really, really explain these things away, which I actually love. A lot of people love them because so it's like, because they're like, yeah, go ahead, try to debunk it. But I think it's not Go Fast. It's the gimbal. The gimbal. And the audio from the gimbal. Even if you want to tear apart the video of the gimbal and say, hey, it's with the gimbal camera that's moving and it's just a plane, whatever it is. You hear the pilots on the video saying, "Oh, we're getting a ton of these things on the ASR or whatever they say." So how do you explain that away? You know what I'm saying? Like, so for you, the question for you is that, like, Was the article the smoking gun, or did you because you also like you described multiple times, you went over to Russia after communism fell, and you tons of documents there. So there's one thing that stood out that you haven't even thought of in a while, maybe even, that you were like, this to me just rings so true. Just this one little fact, this one little case, even if it's anecdotal, that made like, hey, this is the smoking gun. This did it.
Dan, by the way, Dan, I realize I didn't exactly answer your question. Was that the best ever? I don't know. I'm more interested in the compilation, the collection of all of them, and what collectively these kind of videos and other evidence mean. As you were mentioning, Sean, everything is declared debunked. It's like a magic wand.
Yeah.
No matter what you post online, no matter what video or photo, somebody somewhere declares it debunked, and therefore it's debunked. And it's true for every video and photo in the history of ufology. Because they say it's debunked, that makes it debunked. It doesn't. What we do not have the privilege of seeing is all the other information that goes with this stuff. To declare some of these videos like Gimbal and Tic Tac and Go Fast and the USS Jackson stuff, to declare them debunked is an insult to our service members, the censor experts, the people who have spent their whole career learning their craft and learning these machines, to suggest that they are all idiots, that some guy on X who makes video games knows why they're wrong, that they have to be wrong, is preposterous.
Right.
We don't get to see all the other information. Jeremy and I released a bunch of videos that were collected by the UAP task force when Jay Stratton was in charge of it. He had put together a classified briefing where he would go out to defense contractors, to CIA and other intelligence agencies, to the Joint Chiefs, to members of Congress, and he'd give them a little slideshow and video show. Here's the stuff that we've collected. This is why we take it seriously. So the images themselves, many of those we've made public. What we cannot make public is all the other information that backs it up. They have sensor systems, satellites. We have the most incredible technology in the world for figuring this stuff out. And when they release something that says, this is a genuine unknown, the video may be all the public ever sees because things get sent to us, to me and Jeremy, and we make it public. But we don't see the other sensor systems that allows them to say, it's not us. It has performance characteristics that we cannot explain because that stuff is classified. There's all kinds of information that goes into the people like the UAP task force saying, this is a genuine unknown. And to suggest that all these intelligence professionals, military experts, are idiots and they don't know what somebody on X knows is preposterous and insulting.
Especially the ones that came forward back in the day because they had a lot to lose, career-wise and personally, and so I agree. I think it's really insulting. But you had a great question about origin, like about maybe.
Well, this is a question I kind of want to ask. It's a question that you're not going to have an answer for, but I kind of want to ask everyone in this space, and background. I know there's no answer to this because as Jacques Vallée says, when you think you have an idea of the phenomenon changes on you. But okay, by saying that, gun to your head, and I know that's a bad analogy considering the CIA, but gun to your head, what is this?
Right.
What is it? What is it?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I've been pretty far up the food chain and asking about this. There are a lot of people who know more about it than me and who've seen better evidence and information and bits and pieces and probably bodies, and I'm not sure they know. The fact that somewhere in some hangar there are intact craft from somewhere else, the metallics, the materials in there may not be some unobtainium, some unknown mineral or something from other parts of the universe, but they're put together in ways that we cannot engineer. Even if you have bodies of what we'd call the grays, that doesn't tell you where they're from.
Right.
I suspect that the answer is multiple choice. When I started, the dominant paradigm was these are ETs visiting us from other planets. And you can get your head around that. We've been conditioned, we as a general population have been conditioned to understand that through TV and movies and books for a long time. But the further you dig, the less satisfactory that answer becomes. That might be part of it. But I suspect there's more than one answer. A non-human intelligence, NHI, is what we use now to describe it all. But I think it's been here forever. I think it might have been here longer than us. I don't think it's necessarily extraterrestrial. It might have started out there somewhere, but it lives here, and it lives here now in multiple forms. Crypto-terrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, beings that have an intelligence but may not necessarily need bodies. There's a pretty interesting theory that it's AI, that AI moves from planet to planet by sending out probes, building little bio robots like the Greys, picking a species, nurturing it along the way, doing some DNA changes along the way, get them up to the point where they develop technology, show them examples of what could lie just outside their grasp, like the airships of the 1890s that didn't exist then, but we built them soon after, or airplanes, or things that are like stealth that we get inspired about when we build. And maybe we get to a point where we develop AI and then they move in. You know, I don't want to be too crazy about it, but it could be an AI, it could be ETs, it could be something that's lived here for a very long time. It could be something closer to jinn or gods or super beings that are so far beyond us we may never figure it out. The fun is the journey, is trying to figure it out, is chasing it, is pursuing it. You guys ask me what the most compelling evidence is for me. I'll tell you what started me down this road and still keeps me going. It's what our government has written about this topic, the government documents, the paper trail. When I started looking into this stuff, you know, the general view is there's nothing to it. We've looked into it and it's not true and it's a bunch of nonsense. And then you read these documents, reports, confidential memos that all these top generals, CIA, high-level officials had shared with each other before FOIA, before Freedom of Information Act existed. They were very candid in giving their explanations and opinions that this is not us. It's not the Russians. It's not the Americans. Certainly wasn't the Chinese in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
This is advanced technology from somewhere else, and it might be from out there. Now, if you were to ask them, as I did when I started, hey, can I get some of these reports? They would deny that they never had an interest in it. After FOIA, though, they had to release thousands and thousands of pages of stuff that they said never existed, in which they candidly admit this shit is real. And, you know, now they're much better at hiding that stuff, that they can stash it somewhere else. They can have memos and reports that are in the hands of private contractors to which FOIA doesn't apply. That stuff is what got me hooked, because it was clear that what they were telling the public is a lie, that they do take it seriously, that it is a genuine mystery, that there's lots of evidence about it. The same is true in Russia. You know, as you mentioned, Sean, I made a couple of trips to Russia during Glasnost, Perestroika, when Yeltsin took over. And I thought that was a window of opportunity to see what the other superpower of the world might know. Maybe they would tell us more about what the U.S. government knows about UFOs than our government will ever admit to. And that's what I brought back. They'd been doing the same stuff. They told their public there's nothing to it. It's American propaganda. It's meant to be a distraction. And we're not going to talk about this stuff in public. The Russian media, state-controlled media, wasn't reporting on it. Behind the scenes, at that same time, they had commissioned scientists to do secret studies, to look into it. And then they had a program that amounted to the biggest program in the history of the world, a 10-year-long study of UFOs that gathered tens of thousands of cases in hopes of mastering the technology so they could kick our ass.
Right. Yeah. That's
what got it to me anyway. It's the government information that they know it's real.
And I know you have a question. I just wanted to add one thing. I think I think even a bigger point of what George is saying is like, okay, the people who are writing these reports, they most likely don't want to do their job. It's a government job. So like they don't want to, it's like, you know, like a policeman doesn't want to, a policeman doesn't want to do paperwork. Do you know what I mean? So they're not doing this for a bit. You know what I mean? They don't want to have to do more bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah. No, it's just the workday.
Yeah. That to me is even more believable.
But like he said, back when there was no FOIA, they just willy-nilly do it. They're just like, hey, we can just report on this because this will never be seen by people that shouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Or that we don't want to see it. The other thing is, I wanted to see if you thought there was any validity to the idea, which makes a lot of sense to me. Besides the private companies being able to hide, they don't have to deal with FOIA. Besides that, the idea that a lot of this information because of what happened in where was it, the one, because of the radiation based cases, that they're able to put a lot of this information underneath the Nuclear Secrets Act, which is completely on the side of away from FOIA. You can't. It's
I think
forbidden.
there's a lot to that. That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, I have filed a number of FOIA requests to the Department of Energy over the years. A lot of, I live in the most nuked state in the world.
Right.
We had more nukes than any place else on the planet, and they've always had a strong presence here. The first time I ever asked about it, no, we've never had any UFOs, never seen them. It was an absolute ridiculous lie. Of course they had seen them. When we're blowing up nuclear weapons, if there's some other intelligence around, they're going to come and take a look, and they did.
Yeah.
Robert Hastings wrote a great book called UFOs and Nukes, where he documents a lot of this. He's got more than 100 witnesses who had seen these things show up out there. I eventually got some documents out of DOE many years later, but for the most part, the best stuff is hidden. And I will tell you this, as encouraged as I am about the developments since that 2017 New York Times story, I'm pessimistic in the long run.
I was going to ask you this.
They are never going to give this stuff up. Never. And if you don't need many more examples of it than what happened in Congress when Chuck Schumer, who was the majority leader, is trying to ram through this legislation to give some protection to whistleblowers and force people to cough up this info, it got defeated 2 years in a row. He's a Senate majority leader. He got defeated. And then Arrow gets created. We all have some hopes. The UAP task force under Jay Stratton was doing some good stuff. Some of those images that Jeremy and I got from his classified briefing and made public, he owned up to it. He made the spokesperson for the Pentagon say, yes, that's ours. Those are real. That era is gone. They created Arrow. They put a hardcore debunker guy in charge of it.
Fitzpatrick, right?
Yeah, they invited witnesses to come forward, whistleblowers, come on in, tell us what you got, and discredited all of them, every single one of them. They just discredited every case they've got in those files. There's no whistleblower or witness in his right mind who's going to talk to them again. It is a debunking effort. It's like Project Blue Book on steroids. And it's deeply disappointing because we had a lot of momentum, but there is no way they're going to cough up this evidence and this information. It's in the hands of companies. I almost feel sorry for them because they're kind of stuck in a bad spot. But the Arrow report that came out a couple of years ago, the one that they're supposed to be writing now that was due 9 months ago, they are not going to acknowledge this. And the technology that exists, that's stashed away in hangars all over the place, they're never going to open the hangar doors and let us see it. They're not going to do it. National security, billions of dollars, maybe trillions of dollars. If we figure out that technology, it changes everything. Yeah. We are in a race against the Russians, Chinese, maybe the Israelis to get that tech, and they are not going to give this stuff up no matter what. So people like Jeremy and I, people like you guys, can be pounding away, inviting witnesses. We can get little bits and pieces. But I know from reading reactions from random people on X, they get frustrated. They sit at home, they read, social media for 6 months, and then they go, gosh, I've been at this 6 months. I'm tired of this. I want to see the bodies right now. They don't want to see a video. They don't care about an insider testimony. I want it right now, and I'm going to sit in the corner and suck my thumb. I get it every single day. Well, the day that you are waiting for that they're going to cough up a crash saucer or open the hangar or show you the metamaterials of the bodies, that is never going to happen.
Well, okay. I mean,
sorry.
I agree.
I agree. That's depressing. And
I think the efforts that's been happening the past bunch of years, I think it might be strategic where they're viewing this as a stopgap. This is like, hey, we'll give you these little morsels and then delay, and then just hope what happens like the people on X where people just get tired of it and they go, forget it, that's it. But I feel like that's like you were saying, like what government does with other stuff as far as bills getting made into law, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's just the idea that's counting on the apathy of the American, of the public, of the world public.
Well, considering, and I agree with everything you guys just said, but considering all of this, one of the theories that Danny Sheehan has espoused on like the Julian Dory podcast and things of that nature is that there waiting for us to step. The reason they're not revealing themselves is because we're not elevated enough to be in their orbit. Do you think there's any truth to that statement? And do you think the only way real disclosure happens is if the NHI steps up themselves?
That would be one way it could happen. I mean, they are the true architects of the secrecy. For whatever reason, they have not revealed themselves. What we get are tantalizing little bits and pieces.
Right.
They're obviously not trying to hide entirely. They could.
Phoenix Lights.
I mean,
yeah.
They can hide from censors if they want. The only time we see them is when they let us see them. So I think they want us to get bits and pieces and think about it. It's like at Skinwalker Ranch. That was a game changer for me. I'm chasing UFO stories and ETs and those kind of ideas and programs. Skinwalker Ranch comes along. I had to keep quiet about it for a long time, but the activities that happen there are so foreign to the general understood story of UFOs. All the other elements to it, paranormal, cattle mutilations, creatures, Bigfoot, crop circles, poltergeist activity. It was as if it is trying to tell us reality isn't what it used to be. It's much more complicated, wonderful, mysterious. It's up to you to figure it out. It's like a learning curve. And it really changed me and my view. It widened it to what's really going on. I think that there are multiple intelligences that we're interacting with. There may be different agendas. We don't know what the timeline is. So maybe they help make who we are. Maybe they got a plan. Maybe it's a simulated reality of some sort. Maybe they've altered our DNA to get us to some point where they could talk to us. But it would be, I don't feel too bad when I step on an ant. I don't go out of my way to not do it. But sometimes if I hurt one, it's bad. I think there are a lot of humans who've been hurt by interacting with them, mostly from proximity, where we're too close to a craft, radiation, whatever. But there are cases where it's been on purpose. And those kind of cases stand out from the rest, which suggests there is more than one agenda, more than one intelligence. And I don't know why they don't show themselves. But for whatever reason, our government has played off of that. They have flat out lied to us for 75, 80 years. I don't see that changing. The only way we're going to get an understanding of it is if more whistleblowers come forward. There are leaks. And the funniest thing is, and the bottom line is, what the UFO people in America want is the president or somebody to stand up there and say, it's all real. We've been lying to you. It's true. We've got saucers and bodies. I can't say anymore, but they want the people that we believe the least, who have lied to us the most, they want them to come forward and tell us what's been going on. And they want it because they want to be able to say, see, Mom, I was right all along.
Yeah, that's right. The boss said it's true. Well, that's a great place to end right there. We cannot thank you enough for talking to us.
George,
this
is really
this
amazing.
was really a blast. It's great to see you. Hopefully, if I'm in Vegas, you got to come to Comedy Cellar. If I'm in
please let me know when you're coming. Give me a heads up.
I will. Thank you again, George. We'll talk to you soon.
It was great to meet you too.
Hey, it was great to meet you, George.
Have a great one.
Take care.
All right.
And I mean, check out George's.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll say this right now. Yeah. Check out Weaponized. Also, where else? What else would you like to?
I report on KLAS. I've had stories about that USS Jackson the last 2 weeks. I got some great stuff coming this week with Jacques Vallée. I'm working on an interesting book project. I don't know when the hell it'll come out, but Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. If you want to know about the DIA program, how far it went, the information it got, they produced a gigantic storehouse of information, not only the world's largest UFO data warehouse, but more than 100 reports, thick analysis, engineering and physics analysis of very strange cases and incidents, and not one page of that stuff has been made public. But we write about it in that book.
Oh, wow. I'm excited.
Check it out.
I'm going to read that one for sure.
Well, thanks again, George. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, guys.